I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, in his book Rebel Blood, author Tom Walker creates a frightening yet believable world where the stakes are high and the heroes, they stand tall. A new prime minister faces a daunting challenge left behind by her father, a former prime minister. In her quest for help, she reconnects with her past lover, John, a former strike team leader who demands something in return for his assistance in preventing the New World Order from gassing Middle Eastern and Australian cities with a 72-hour active gas. We are delighted to have Tom on Spotlight today. Thank the folks at Prime 7 Media for helping us put Tom in the spotlight today, and ask those watching at home to support writers like him by subscribing to our channel. Tom, thanks so much for being our guest today.
Very, very much a pleasure.
Pleasure is all mine. You have written quite an adventure here with Rebel Blood. Is it born out of your own real life experiences at all? I know you were a soldier for many years.
Well, partly yes, and due to the position I held in defence, I had to get very careful that I didn't breach the Secrets Act.
Mm-hmm.
So henceforth, I turned it into a fictional novel, and obviously changed the names of all those people, and sat down and wrote the book from a series of notes that I had collected while I was working in a particular branch of the army.
And you updated it quite a bit as well. I mean, it seems like the threats that the world faces in this novel are very 21st century threats, right?
Yeah. Look, honestly, Logan, I'm not a government lover. I'm not a lover of politicians by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
Politicians are people who get into these, well, fairly high-paid positions and elected there by voters. However, you get a lot of politicians that go in there and they don't have a clue.
Right.
They rely so much on so-called experts to advise them on what they should say and what they shouldn't say. And for example, I know personally, if you asked a particular politician, I don't know what it's like in the US of A, but here, if you asked a politician a question that only requires a yes or no answer, you will never get it.
Exactly. It's the
To
same
me, that
problem
is,
here in this country. In fact, I think somebody'd have to wake our president up to tell him there was a question even asked. So,
yeah, well, I think that's pretty much the mandate worldwide.
yeah.
They don't want the people to know what they're about. And they get all these spin doctors that tell them that this is the way you should go. And unfortunately, it leaves the people who want to know the answer to that question in the dark. And that leads to frustration and it's terrible leadership, but unfortunately, that's the system we have and we have to live with it. And I just say to people, if you read the book and you analyse the book, I think you'll discover that our politicians aren't really there for us. They're there for themselves and they're there for their party. And that's period. That's the end of story.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, like I said, here in the United States, it's never been clearer that the presidency is perhaps only a ceremonial post, because the guy we
Yes,
have in the White House couldn't run our local drugstore, let alone.
yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, the world's going through turmoil at the moment. We're still recovering from COVID-19. We are verging on, I think, the inflation rates taking over. So we're going to slip into recession. And with the war going on in Ukraine, I mean, yes, it's a sad, very, very sad thing to be seeing, to be happening. But I think that it needs to be stopped, and it needs to be stopped now. And NATO really needs to get off their backsides and stop running around the bush and beating it, hoping that Putin's going to fall out and they can clobber him. They need to step up to the mark and say, right, enough of this is enough. We've got enough conflicts going on around the world without adding insult to injury with a major power dominating over a lesser power, and that's just totally wrong.
For sure, for sure. Tell the folks at home a little bit about the New World Order and the New World Order's plan that you talk about in your book.
Well, the New World Order, I believe, exists as we speak, in that it's the United Nations. They're the ones that are pushing the buttons to tell us, what should be done and what shouldn't be done. Right. The bottom line is they push the buttons and make the policies, but they don't look at the effects that is going to have on the people. I mean, every nation in the world that is a member of the United Nations has to pay big dollars to be a member of the United Nations. And they're sitting on their shiny little seats in the UN house, and they're not doing jack about Russia or the Ukraine war, whereas they could put a stop to it immediately. They could just say, no, this is not going on. I mean, compared to the population of Russia and Ukraine, and you multiply that out by the number of people in the world who don't want this war to continue, what are the odds on the vote? Stop it. But the UN won't listen. They've got a hidden agenda, same as NATO. They've got a hidden agenda on it. They all come up and puff their chests out and say, aren't we doing a really good job here? But they're not doing a really good job. They can put a stop to it if they want to. And
but people are getting rich. I mean,
exactly. Yes,
they're sending billions and billions of dollars over to Ukraine, and meanwhile, there's people in your country and people in my country who desperately need help, who could have better health insurance, who could have better Social Security benefits, could have better education, but instead we invest it and pour it into money-making war machines.
It is. And you go back over history, and Vietnam was no different. Second World War was no different. It's just a money spinner. And unfortunately, people who serve in the armed forces, no matter where or what army or military they serve in, they serve for one purpose, and that is to protect their people from harm, whether that harm comes from abroad or comes within. And unfortunately, the same as many other countries, we get involved in a conflict and we send our precious soldiers, airmen, Navy to these zones, and they get killed. And that's a sad fact of life. I mean, you look back at even the Bible way back, and I'm not a religious man, but I've read the Bible, and you look way back, man has been trying to kill each other off since we were first born, first evolved, and we've got that in our psyche, and that's the way it is. It's and as you say, it's billions and billions and billions of dollars. People can make billions of dollars out of making a weapon that can kill you.
You've got skin in the game. You were a soldier. You did
Yes.
risk your life for the country.
Look, I was fairly fortunate, Logan. In the time I served, I didn't have to go on active service. I was at home. However, we would often go bush and train for the inevitable event that was going to come, and we would be out there 21, 40 days doing the hard yards training. And I absolutely take my hat off to every person, every veteran that has been sent away by their country to serve their country. And probably most of them don't even know what they're really fighting for.
Exactly.
Or why they're fighting.
Or they're being told they're fighting for one thing and they're actually fighting for another. That's the truth of it.
Yeah.
Is your book meant to be a wake-up call to the people out there who are busy looking at their phones and smoking medical marijuana and so distracted in this year 2023?
Yeah, I would like it to be. But let's be honest, every person's interpretation of reading a passage differs. There's people going to turn around and say, oh, what a load of junk, that's never going to happen. But, when you look at the world's politics right now, it's happening.
Right.
Not as dramatical, I suppose, as I expressed in the book, but it's happening. We have people out there who are, like the FBI, CIA, our own intelligence services, and many other intelligence services around the world who are trying to stay on top of the threats. But unfortunately, if governments don't want them to stay on top of the threat, they just wind up the weight and wind down the plunger and put a stop to it. And that's unfortunate because those people are public servants and they're there to serve their public.
Exactly. Have you envisioned this book as a movie or a TV series at all, Tom?
Oh, look, I think that's every author's dream. I have had it scripted, but at this point in time, I don't have an offer. But it's taken a long time from the time I sat down and wrote Rebel Blood to get to this stage.
Right.
I know you can't rush things. Big companies work in mysterious ways.
Yeah.
So I've just got to sit back and wait until I actually get a contract in front of me and sign it.
Exactly. Yep. You never know when that phone is going to ring in this business, when the book gets into the right hands, when the screenplay gets into the right hands.
I mean, the people in the movie industry or whatever are going to look at it and some are going to say, no, that's trash. It goes into file 13. Not interested.
Right.
And then you're likely to get someone who's shit, this will be all right. Yeah,
exactly. Well, you know what they said about Fred Astaire? They said the first critique was he can't dance, he can't sing, and he can dance a little. Can't act, can't sing, and can dance a little. So it's always the beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right?
It is, and there's probably thousands and thousands of authors out there,
right,
that have written tremendous books that should be available in movie format.
Yeah.
I get a bit sick of TV companies running repeat after repeat after repeat of a particular movie, whatever, and there's no new talent coming up through the lines to tell us that, look at this guy. He's new to the industry. He's keen to go. Let's give this bloke a chance, or this female a chance, and get them out there and get them exposed. So that, I mean, they train to be an actor for one reason. They want to make a living out of it.
Right.
And you get big companies that will say, no, well, we want to stick with Mel Gibson or something like that. And
exactly.
Unfortunately, the new talent doesn't get a show in.
I know. Well, hopefully Hollywood is listening, or the equivalent in Australia is listening to this broadcast right now, because Rebel Blood is a fantastic book. It's quite an adventure. Tom Walker has created a frightening world that somehow mirrors this world of ours in 2023. It's available wherever books are sold. He's got a screenplay ready to go as well. And Tom Walker, we thank you for being on Spotlight with us today.
Thank you very much, Logan, and stay safe. And you're in winter over there, and we're in summer. We've just had bushfires here, so you stay safe.
Sounds good. Same to you, sir. I appreciate your time. We will raise a schooner one of these days. I just learned about schooners, and appreciate it. To the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.
Thank you.